Hello, dear friends. Welcome to this program, Moments with God. And I hope that by now you're becoming more and more aware of the purpose of these videos, which is to renew our spiritual life, to awaken the spiritual gifts that are there, and for those of you who are awake, to deepen our spiritual awareness so that we can go deeper into our spiritual life and find in the temple of our heart the presence of God, who always wants to relate to us, wants to establish a friendship with us. I hope that you are becoming aware of the need to go deeper into your spiritual life. At least I have become aware of that. And I hope you are also subscribing to this channel and sharing it with others. Thank you. Yesterday, in the first reading from the letter of St. Paul to the Corinthians, he was speaking about the wisdom of God and the foolishness of man. But in the end, he said, God's foolishness is wiser than the wisdom of man. Of course, because we do not understand God's wisdom. We depend on our own kind of foolishness, our own understanding, but which is a very limited understanding. And sometimes that limited understanding leads us into foolish actions, foolish decisions, even spiritually foolish decisions, as has happened in my life in the past. Often I was not quite properly and deeply aware of the demands of my spiritual life, and therefore was not really taking care of that particular area of life. So God in his wisdom makes us now aware. At least now I can say that I am more aware of that spiritual need to renew and to deepen my spiritual life. That's why God's wisdom is, or God's foolishness, as Paul says, is better than man's wisdom. Continuing in that same breath, on the first reading today, he goes on to say, he reminds people, consider yourself. What were you? He says. What were you? You were not wise people. You did not come from noble upbringing. What were you? You were not spiritual people. But God uses the foolishness of the world to shame the wise of the world. God uses the weakness of the world to shame the powerful of the world. So God's wisdom, God's knowledge, and God's spirit makes everything makes more sense in the eyes of the world. And therefore, I think it is very important, particularly when we talk about spiritual life, that this is very useful. What were we? Actually, if we talk about spiritual life, are we really aware of our spiritual life? Or what were we? Without God's power, without God's spirit, what are we? We are thankful to God that through baptism, we have received the Spirit of God. And through confirmation, we have been confirmed with the Spirit. And what a rich thing it is to be the Spirit of God in us. And remember, all the gifts of the Holy Spirit, not only those 7 gifts of the Holy Spirit, but St. Paul also in the letter to the Corinthians and to the Romans speaks about various gifts of the Holy Spirit. All those gifts are available to us when we reawaken our awareness of spiritual life. All those are gifts within us. And God uses those gifts of the Spirit within us, through us, to shame the wisdom of the world, the power of the world. Yeah, they think that that is all that we have. Sometimes we too, I can say that about myself. I used to think that, yeah, all that there is what we see. Not so much about the spiritual life, not so much what is within us. God has placed His Spirit within us to make us holy people. And this is what I keep on repeating in my videos, to make us more and more aware of the power of the Spirit, the power of spiritual life, the power of renewing our spiritual life and getting into it. And actually, if you go to the gospel today, it is the same thing, that the man distributed 5 talents to one person, 3 talents to another person, and 1 talent to another person, and told them to use them. And what happened? The person who had 5 talents, he made 5 more. The one who had 3, he made 3 more. And the one who had 1, he did not do anything with it. And the man was upset with him because he did not use his talent. And the ones who had used his talents, the man was very happy. This is what God is doing to us. He has given us many gifts. He has given us many talents. And particularly in our spiritual life, are we making use of that, or are we only dancing around and showing off our worldly talents, our worldly wealth, our worldly wisdom? Or are we also using the talents given to us by God for His greater glory? I hope that you will do that, and I wish you all the very best, and I hope you subscribe to this channel. Thank you.